Welcome to the Scandal Fan Podcast. I am one of your hostesses. I am John Knight, and I am joined with Katrina Pavela, one of our other hostesses today. And if you want to find out the show notes, any of the details of Scandal Podcast, go to dramaqueenbooks.com. All of the show notes are there. We usually have a transcribed scene there for the episode, and we share through Twitter, and the show is on iTunes and YouTube and Stitcher, so it's everywhere. We record here and then we disseminate the show out. So if you can't find the video, it's usually on YouTube. So thank y'all for joining us. Katrina, talk to the people.
Hi guys, I'm Katrina Pavela. It's nice to be back this week. I was gone last week, but it was for a very good thing. And yeah, I am at katrinapavela.tumblr.com, and I'm at #1feeling on Twitter. So yeah.
So we are joined today with our illustrious Scandal Fan Podcast crew that is in the comments. So shout out to you all. Thank you all for joining us here. They're awesome. They had comments in here before I even got on. Like I was like, girl, y'all on here commenting before we even get on. So let's start with the show. Let's talk about the first scene. Did you all so when Fitz was on the podium and he was making his speech, what were your first thoughts? I want y'all's first thoughts on when Fitz was making his speech on the podium.
My first thought?
Yes. When he was setting the stage on, because to me, he set the stage. He basically said, this is what happened. I'm sorry. This is how we moving on. The end. Like he just dropped the mic. It was pretty good. I thought it was.
Well, I thought 3 things. 1, pretty. 2, this is typical Fitz. Owning up to his responsibility, being charming, earnest, and also segueing to moving on with the business of running America. And 3, I thought, Olivia wrote that.
Did you think?
Yeah,
so?
I did. I bet either she wrote it or she has something to do with it or what needed to be said. Either she told Abby, or if Fitz didn't write it or she didn't write it, she had something to do with what was said in that speech.
NYC Gal said that she felt like he was sincere, but he was making amends.
That's what Fitz does, right? And this is one of the reasons why I always defend him, because unlike certain individuals in this show, Fitz actually will accept responsibility for his misdeeds, learns from them, tries to move on, he has no problems like apologizing to people when an apology needs to be made. And he will stand in his wrongness and be wrong and ask for forgiveness. And I appreciate that about him. Like I can rock with people like that. What I can't stand are the people who refuse to acknowledge or accept any responsibility whatsoever for their actions, which is why I will never be here for Melody Grant and I will never be here for Jake Ballard.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Even Cyrus. That's why, like, I can forgive Cyrus, because Cyrus will be like, yeah, I'm vindictive. Yeah, I'm shady. Yeah, I'm power hungry. Yeah, I'm a political animal. He accepts himself. He knows himself. And he's like, this is who I am. And you know what you're getting. It's the bitches that want to act like stop. I can't.
So Moretta says that her first thoughts were that man is fine as hell, and Sweet Treats Forever says her first thoughts were, that's my bae.
So that's why I told you my first thought was, ooh, pretty, because I was just looking at him. And Oliver Bokelberg, Herr Bokelberg, I see you. Y'all, I see y'all with the behind the head camera shots. You know, we like that shit. We like to look at Fitz's hair, especially from behind that head of hair. So thank you very much, sir.
I'm just going to leave that comment there and I'm going to move on. Tula Rosebud said that she felt like he was saying, my marriage is none of your damn business.
In a much nicer way. But well, he's pivoting away from this personal stuff by saying, hey, you hired me to be the president. I'd really like the chance to go back and do that right now for you. So can we move away from my personal life and get back to the business. Congress has dropped it. Now, can you guys drop it too in the public, and let's move on. Buckle down.
Yeah, that was an interesting scene to me, because I thought that it was almost like coded language in a way. I was like, okay, well, he's basically telling y'all. So did you catch the look that Abby gave Liv when she realized that Olivia had something to do with Rowan's air quotes escape?
Oh yeah, the way they were communicating over Fitz's shoulder, Abby looking at her. Yeah, their friendship. Was talking about this with my little crew of 3, which includes me. We call ourselves Ask, because that's our initials. But we've been talking about this friendship and about a number of things that are really coming to fruition this season, since season 2, in this narrative. And that friendship is one of them. Since Abby and Olivia have gotten over this bridge that happened earlier in the season with the lie, Abby is starting to see, I think, that and come over to Liv's darker side and her darkness. And what I think is happening with Olivia is that she is stepping into her full self, embracing all of those shades, that comes with her power this season.
All right, so my issue with the looks was, I love that Olivia was honest with her, but I am at odds with the fact that she wasn't honest with Fitz. So I love the fact that she was like, look, you don't want me to lie to you, we're friends,
don't make me
do it. And then when she gave her that heads up, like, there's gonna be some shit that you just do not want to hear.
Like,
and then
like, girl, I'm in this.
Yeah, like, you don't want to play these games, girl. I got some stuff that's been going on. And if y'all love what we're saying, you can clap us up at the little bottom of the screen and
you can give us high five.
Share the show with your friends. Bring a friend Fridays. That's what this is gonna be. Bring a friend, share a friend. Tell them on Facebook we're here. But so yeah, I love that she was honest enough to tell her that. But I still don't. I know this whole thing with her not saying it to Fitz is going to kind of blow up in her face.
Can I say something about that? Because there's been so much conversation about this issue over the last week, and I wasn't on the podcast last week. And when I first watched the episode last week, I wasn't in the greatest of moods because I was very sleep deprived from the previous week. Like, I'm just so thankful that I have made it through these last 8 days, and I've had a stellar week of accomplishments. But I was tired and I was irritated as all get out. And when I rewatched the episode, I was like, I'm actually way less mad, and I'm not really that mad at Olivia for lying for a number of reasons. But I still feel like she needs to tell Fitz or indicate to Fitz that she's in this somehow, or that she's a part of or has something to do with Rowan getting out. But something inside me, I know it's going to kind of be a hot mess, like, next week. But I don't think it's breakup worthy. But her communication has always been a challenge. And this crosses the line between Olivia Pope, sort of fixer and her larger goals, and, Olivia, the lover to the president. And so it's kind of all mixed up. And her communication on the personal side is not good right now. But I'm not going to demonize her for it, because she's not the only one who benefited off of this shit. And I'm so tired of people acting like, she's just being selfish. Like, hello, Melly benefited off of this. Fitz obviously benefits off of this. Yes. America fucking benefits off of this, because Congress was on some bullshit, some extortionate bullshit, wasting people's time. For those of you who aren't old enough to remember the Clinton impeachment trials and how they wasted hundreds of millions of dollars. Yep. And people's time, and the public turned on Ken Starr and what's his name, Newt Gingrich. That motherfucker lost his power as speaker over this shit because America was over it. So in some ways, this was also for America. So I can't be mad at her. Yeah, she's lying to her lover right now. She's gonna have to figure that shit out. But sorry, I'm not gonna demonize her over it.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree, wholeheartedly agree, because it wasn't something and I did this. I don't know if you watched the video in the After Dark, but it got on my nerves because it was like, oh, so you turned down his proposal. It was a whole calamity of.
I wish I was there.
Look, I'm gonna just be real, and
Yes.
this is kind of Scandal Podcast After Dark's talk. There was a calamity of fucks last week with the
Okay.
conversation about the way that Olivia is this. She'll be a mistress, but she doesn't want to be a wife. And I listened to another show, another podcast, and it wasn't even about Scandal, but they brought up Scandal and they were hating. And I'm like, just like y'all don't want nobody coming for Bae, don't come for Scandal. Like I had it in my spirit, but I'm just gonna say,
I'm gonna have to check it out.
that's how I felt. So Jake's speech. Oh, I'm gonna read the comments. I'm sorry, y'all. I know y'all had some comments. NYC Gal and Annie said that they loved the toast. And she also asked, wasn't it Dark that Liv took the iron, the tie? What was it? Wasn't it Dark Liv that took a tire iron to Abby's ex? I don't know
That's
what that
damn
means.
right.
So
Abby's ex's knees.
oh, I know what that means, but I didn't know what Dark Liv is.
Oh, because I said her like embracing the dark parts of her for the good of the goals that she wants to accomplish. She's had problems with that in the past, right? So all that lip quivering and crying and running off to islands and trying to fix that shit out of her. But what she needs to do is embrace it. And I feel like that's what she's on this season. That's where she's going, because that's the only way to fully step into the power that is you, is to embrace all of those contradictory parts of yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You spoke a word right there, girl. I'm gonna leave that. Sweet Rosetta said, I sure did. Abby is like, no, you didn't. The hell, Liv. And then Tula Rosebud said, maybe Liv is lying to Fitz in some ways because of deniability. But she's not going to have any denial. They literally have crafted I'm skipping ahead.
Annie, I see you. And yes, I raised this in the thing I wrote on Wednesday, that I do think she's kind of afraid of his reaction and what it'll do. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes, we are. Jake's speech. Y'all already know how I feel about chicken chest Jake. But his speech, how much of it had a ring of truth to it and how much of it rang hollow? Do you think it was influenced by him having drank too much wine, or did you realize how the wine... Oh, go ahead. Answer that question, because then I'm going to the next.
Which one? Because I want to talk about the wine too.
His speech. Start with that, and you all can answer those questions too in the comments. So,
okay. So I said I'm going After Dark. So all I'm going to say right now is, as for his speech, there was a portion of it that actually later reminds me of the point that Cyrus was trying to make to Olivia, but the tone was entirely different. And I felt like Jake had no right to accuse her of some of the things that he did, that he was completely out of line, especially since he was drunk. And this is not the first time that he showed up at her apartment drunk, trying to say some stuff to her. But this is worse because he's breaking and entering. He entered her apartment, sat there and waited for her in the dark. So there was, and I think that the only part that I thought out of all of the mess that he said, the point I think he was trying to get at is just embrace these things about yourself. You know, he tried to denigrate the idea of the white hat, and which is much more complicated than Olivia tried to make it out to be in season 2, and even like the end of season 4. Like, the white hat is not about being pristine. It's not about, being clean. It's not about only being good. It's about the good, the greater good, and what has to happen in order for that to come to fruition. So the only thing that I will give to Jake in that scene is essentially him saying, yo, just accept who you are. Don't cry about it. Don't tremble about it. Like, this is you. But I just don't feel like he had the right to approach her in that way. And so many other things that happened in that scene were problematic. And I'm sitting on it, because not only do I want to go off on Jake, I want to go off on delusional Jake stands, especially that chick from Vulture. But I'm going to save that shit for later. So
I'm gonna go ahead and you made me laugh. I'm laughing too because I'm reading y'all's comments. Y'all are hilarious. And I think we have some of the best people, like fans of our of Scandal in the world. Y'all are awesome. Brown Shay
yes,
is
they
from
are.
Antigua, so welcome to the show, Brown Shay. But they were talking about Fitz's hair. They talking about style. LD is not even on here, but I'm gonna go ahead and shout y'all out for that. They are still over here talking about Fitz's hair. So Fitz's hair was looking good, especially the other night, is what Karen says. And then she talks about the fact that she's glad they got a better stylist for him this season. So we're going to talk for Cy this season. Cy
Oh, his hair.
his hair plugs are much better. They must have cut it
Yes.
down, mowed it a little bit because it looks so much good, so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Trini Melly says, "Oh, her name is Trini Melly." Trini
Oh,
Melly.
Trini
says,
Melly, what's up? I started talking to her on Twitter like a couple of days ago. Hey, girl.
She says he looked incredible in that presser. And then of course they're telling you to preach your gospel, Katrina. That's NYC Gal and Moretta J. Sweet Treats Forever is also telling you to preach the word in the book of Katrina for Scanzo. Tula Rosebud is also asking you to preach the good word. And she says that the Clintons' business and that was the Clintons' business and this is Fitz's business. Absolutely. Shane B. Yes, Cassandra, you know why I was upset last week. Shane B and his shenanigans. Ugh.
Oh, Lord. Shane was on the podcast?
Shane was doing the shenanigans the most.
I saw some of his mess in the Scandalesis and Scandalati thing because I joined that. I don't get to participate very much, but I saw some of it and I was like,
that's
Jesus,
why we
back.
Now you see why I come here. Like I'm like, oh, if you watch the video from last week in the After Dark, you will absolutely positively see me go off because I was so pissed off. I was like, I'm done. I'm just over it. So Annie says, Katrina, she's asking a question. Do you think Liv is afraid of how Fitz will react like what he did with Defiance?
Yeah, I actually I raised that the question kind of out loud in a thing I wrote on Wednesday about, some of the bullshit statements that I'd seen, crucifying Olivia for what she did in 506. And I said, in some ways, I think she is afraid of what divulging this to him would mean. She is in a really good place with him that she believes, in her relationship. And she doesn't want anything to detrimentally impact that. But at the same time, there are things that she has to do to protect not just herself, but also the legacy that they have built. And I really want people to understand that that's part of what was being shown in this episode is that Olivia and Fitz have a legacy. This is not just Fitz's legacy. And when she gets on him about shit, it is her legacy too, because without her, none of this shit would have happened. And so she has to protect it. So it's not just about him. She's in this, and this presidency has value for her. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. She labored for this shit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have more. NYC Gal said, yeah, Jaha did go off. And then she asked, why did they make him look like that? I don't know. Could you rephrase that for me, NYC Gal? Because I don't know if that's the right question, because I don't want to read something weird. So Sweet Treats Forever says, who the hell is Jake to call out Liv that way and don't care what he was going through? He was just trying to get into her head. Loser, 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 incest person much, dissing her for her wine. Okay, so the wine question.
Let's talk about the wine thing.
Yes. Did you realize that with the wine, how they are showing the contrast, the big contrast between Olivia and Jake? And then the other question was, that was the question. So go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, I literally said this. I have a running WhatsApp conversation with Spectacles and Script. We dissect the show every single week. And as a matter of fact, we keep coming back with new ideas and new revelations about episodes every week. And it's a fantastic conversation. I just said to her this morning, you notice again with the drinks, what the writers are doing, they're showing the incompatibility through these drinks. And by contrast, compatibility between Olivia and Fitz. Olivia's been drinking scotch so much more now. She's completely in that world, and sort of like bonded with Fitz in that way. And even like, because she's doing the work of Fitz as well, of President, she's, straight up drinking scotch in the office too. But just as we saw in 502, Jake brings Olivia a beer that she didn't want.
And she kind of skinned her nose up at it.
Right. She took it. And the thing is that people forget, she already told him 2 seasons ago in 218 that she didn't like beer. She tried it at his apartment. She put it down then. He brings it to her again. She takes a sip. She makes a face. She puts it down. This episode, he breaks into her apartment. He drinks her wine. He's like, I don't know much about wine, but this is terrible. It's showing you that they would never work. So this fantasy land that these poor Lakers have built around this couple, I thought, if this episode does not put a nail in the coffin, I don't know what will. But I'm sure I will see
even the kiss.
Delusional. She wiped it off.
I was like, she was scared of him, first of all.
Yeah, she was scared.
He broke into her apartment. She didn't know what he was going to do. He was using threatening language, and his body language to her was threatening. So I didn't like that. And I've been telling y'all.
Yelled at her.
I've been telling y'all I didn't see it for Jake. This is the same dude that slammed her all across the room. Well, basically.
And choked her.
Yeah, he's
threatened her life.
Look, I'm not here for Jake. I've never been. If he wants to work at OPA, go right ahead, girl. You work under her. I get that. I'm not here for a relationship. A relationship. Moretta J says Jake and his Gettysburgers ass needs to STFU. Diara Kane says, oh my God, Jake, bitch licked James dying tears, and he's talking about murders.
Word up, girl. Yes, he is a sick individual.
And Tula Rosebud, we've been talking about this for forever. Olivia needs a steel door on the interior of her outside regular door, because everybody breaks into her apartment.
But it's not just It's not just that. He had access to her place before. Like, he would have been one of the people that had access to her place before. If he had access, or if he just broke in, I don't know. But remember, when she got all of those locked, she was actually still talking to him. That was before she was back with Fitz and all of that. So I don't know how he got in, if he straight up just broke through all that shit, or if he had some kind of access to her place, since way too many people have access to her fucking place. Her whole team has access to her place. But yeah, I feel like, is she gonna move or what? I don't want to see her let go of her only space, at least not right now, because I still feel like she should have her own space to go back to, just for whatever, and for security purposes. But the couch, the locks, something needs to be done.
You know it's deep when somebody unfriends someone because they say Jake is better for Liv because she couldn't be herself. Because she could be herself. Isaac Y said that she unfriended somebody.
Oh yeah,
that's real. That's real. It's real in these trenches. It's real.
Well, I'll tell you what. I just got blocked by. I found out by that Phoebe Robinson chick who writes the recaps for Vultures. First of all, she's awful. She fangirls way too much over Jake and disregards all kinds of shit about Olivia. Frankly, because too much Melly praise, because she's mad that Olivia isn't with Jake. She blocked me because yesterday Vulture released an article about the good guys, and Jake was one of them. And so I tweeted at her. I was like, oh, do good guys like threaten the lives of women they claim to love and choke them too? Oh, wait, do good guys call the other guy that the girl is with the good guy and says about himself that he's not a good guy? And then today I tweeted to her, I said, oh, look, is he still a good guy now that he's done breaking and entering, assault, intimidation, and talked about incest?
Sexual assault at that. Verbal assault and sexual assault.
Exactly.
You kissed her. She didn't want to be kissed. You know she's with him, but yet you're still pressing up. Do you not understand
and
how this works?
intimidating her at
No,
that.
the great part that I loved was when he could not decipher whether he loved Olivia or didn't love her anymore, or loved Elise or didn't love Elise anymore. I was like, sir, get yourself together. Like, it's just, I've never seen Olivia say, Jake, I love you.
Never. This is what I don't understand about poor Lakers, right? That they will say things like, well, Olivia just, she's just caught up on Fitz, but all she needs to do is just really open her eyes to the love that Jake is trying to give her. I mean, he actually listens to her and he respects her. He's been there for her and he can reach her in places that she didn't even know existed. These are the things they say, and I think, are you 15 years old, or do you only date via the TV shows that you watch? Because what the fuck that conclusion have you reached with those thoughts by watching this relationship with this show? I don't need to tell you anything about how Jake and Olivia have progressed. All I need is season 2, episode 14 to tell you that the very premise with which they started was a lie and this man was insinuating into her life. Therefore, nothing that they could never have anything because it is immoral. And frankly, it boggles my fucking mind that people would rather support the immorality and the danger to this Black woman that Jake represents, all because they don't want to be here for adultery, right? The danger that she has literally faced through this man and the reinforcement of the fears that he has represented, that's been okay with them, while actual love, because it's taking place with outside the context of marriage, was not okay. Do you see how fucked up people's thinking is? I cannot. It genuinely makes me mad.
Well, just because you brought up the idea of danger, so they gave the Medal of Freedom to a rapist. Do you think that they vet anybody in the White House truly before they do shit like this? I mean, this is just I think this is the second time they've literally had a mess up. Remember when the guy, he was supposed to have had
Patrick Keating
purchased sexual favors from but it was his wife. Yeah, but it was his wife. Do they vet and find out any of this information before they actually start giving people medals and awards and appointing them to spaces?
You have to remember, and the episode reveals this, that there was no evidence of this. Remember, in this episode, the girl says that no official charges have ever been brought forward. These women have not accused him in public.
Absolutely.
The schools have dismissed their accusations because they found the psychological effects of not being believed has impacted their work, or there have been other complications that have made these rape survivors held at a higher standard, which is what Olivia points out, is a really wrong and fucked up thing. So there isn't anything on record. So any vetting that they would have gone through wouldn't have revealed anything. And with Patrick Keating, because he didn't know that his name was on there and it was his wife. If Sharon, gotta forget her name, the DC madam kept all her records in analog on paper. So there was no digital trail of Patrick Keating having any connection to prostitution. Literally, if Olivia wasn't involved, that would not have come to light, right? And the police, if they hadn't gotten those analog manuals, wouldn't have known. So yeah, they do vetting, but under the circumstances of both of those cases, there wasn't any evidence that really existed against these men.
Well, I don't feel like it was vetted because Lord knows it didn't take long for her to scratch the surface of it and for all the flicks to come out. That's like having dandruff on your scalp. You scratch it and you think, ooh, I'm itching. But then you start scratching it. All of the stuff start coming out your head. I'm just saying. NYC gal says she loves the way you think. Isaac Y says that rapist story was the other side of the power discussion. Yeah. I absolutely agree. I love that. I thought that was a great idea.
It's the darker side of power.
It's the dark side of it. Yeah. So see, now that we
talk teamwork.
We
fucked
talk
up side of teamwork.
and Jake even brought up the white hat. So we talk about the light and the dark inside of Scandal a lot. And I never attributed it to people as much as I do now. But everybody has a light and dark ratio of in their selves, inside of themselves. So I really was sitting there thinking, wow, you have to see how that balances for you. If you have too much dark, you got to pour in some light. Nobody is completely light. Nobody's completely dark. And we talked about that only in the context of Scandal, but that's really life. No one's completely light and nobody's completely dark. You got to just figure it out for yourself as to what ratio you want. And when you feel like you're becoming too dark, you pour a little bit of light in. So I absolutely loved the idea of him saying, you talk about this white hat. I'm sorry, I'm going back to that Jake rant, but we're going to have to talk about that in the After Dark because I know I got so much to say about that.
No, well, I got a lot to say, and I have a lot of receipts to bring up about Jake and the past and things that he's done and said, and actual facts on facts about things that he's accusing Olivia of in that scene that I feel he has no right to accuse her of. But in any case, about the light and the dark thing, I have this I used to, this Israeli mentor, and I remember her talking about that within each person there are these two wolves, right? That one of them is good, one of them is bad. I can't remember the terms that she used for it, but it's about the light and the dark thing. And she said, who we are at any given time depends on which of those wolves we're feeding inside of us. And it's not a permanent state, right? That these things are dynamic and they're in flux, and it depends on the context, the relationship, the situation, and what you're feeding and what you need in your life, which one of those things that you're going to reach more for, or if you're going to need to mix them together to achieve what you need to achieve. But yeah, I think this belief in good and bad is nonsense.
There's no line. There's no definite line. It's always contextual. So I totally agree with you. I thought that was really good. Do you think Huck has a true reason to be afraid of Rowan reactivating B613?
I think Huck does have has a right to have a legitimate fear. I mean, in some ways, his family is at stake. We don't know what's going on with that. If Jake has been with his family this whole time, was able to go back, but also Rowan holds a power over all of these B613 guys, and that he can activate them for his own needs. We've seen him do that with Jake. Jake killed a bus load of people for the sake of his family and because of Rowan, so that he could protect and be back with his family. He killed Sue because she was a threat. He killed Pete Foster in 304 because Rowan activated him to do that. So I do think he has a genuine fear. He has a right to be fearful about Rowan being out. Yeah.
Travel Food Fun says that, he should be, because Rowan makes him weak and his family could die. And Lucinda Dave said, I think maybe Huck finally feels like he got his shit under control, but Rowan can come and mess it up. And then how come Charlie walks around free and not controlled by Rowan is what NYC Gal says. Charlie is an opportunist. We talked about that a lot. He falls on the sign of coin. Okay. Isaac Y says
he's not licking tears like Jake and he's not that kind.
Isaac Y says, yep, a lot of parallel themes last night. Honestly, Isaac Y, there are always parallel themes in Scandal. You gotta look for them. It's an A story, a B story, a parallel, a quart. There's something,
and a grand narrative for the season, and then things that always relate back to previous seasons. Man, I realized a nugget today, and it was a doozy.
What was it?
Girl, do you remember from well, there are a number of things, but this one of them I'll share. You remember from 301 when Rowan says to Olivia, he is never in charge. Power is in charge. Yep. Power got him elected. Olivia is power. It's Olivia. Olivia is power. And that connected for me today after the episode. I was like, especially with her standing on that seal and everything, and her sort of like stepping into her power. I was saying on Twitter, Olivia isn't power hungry. You know, Jake is bullshit, because people who are power hungry don't have power and they thirst for it. That's who Melly is. She gave up what she had, and she's been questing for this limited sense of power ever since. And she's always operating from lack, right? That's why she's a victim. That's why she's a martyr. Olivia, if you look at who she is, has never sought power because she is power. Her challenge is embracing all of the different tools and the aspects of her power that make her her and make her different and unique from her parents. There are parts of both of her parents inside of her, but there's also a different and unique kind of Olivia-ness. And like I said, her challenge is taking all of those things and reconciling them inside herself. And let me just stop, because I'm about to just go. I'm really feeling myself right now, because I have been writing about this shit and seeing it start to come to fruition.
Yeah.
Come together. Like, I want to kiss Shonda's ring, and I shouldn't do that right now. So I'm gonna have to.
Well, you can kiss the ring, and I'll be behind you because I'm shorter, and I'll be there to kiss the ring too. I gotta wipe your lipstick off because I need fresh lips on the ring. But you know, honestly, when you talk about that and the thought of, because all of this, the reason the show is about Olivia is because everything, it is her pushing everything. It's her pushing the pieces, and you see Melly being power hungry, but you also see what's her name, the blonde that had sex with David, which was yuck.
Oh, Ab. Liz.
Liz Lord, is also power hungry. Okay, Liz is also power hungry. So
she always talks about needing power. She needs some power, right? Yeah. She always talks about that.
I guess she thought she was going to get some power between her sugar thighs, because she sure did give it up David in that office, while poor little old Susan was sitting out there with cookies and beer. I mean, fruit coolers, wine coolers.
But that is power, right? That's a form of it.
I thought that they were, it is. It's sexual power. And that's a part of the whole other thing to that whole OPA case. Did you think that she was not going to take that case? And if not, why? Because I thought at some point she wasn't, because it didn't seem like Olivia-esque to me when she walked up in there to vet this lady. It just didn't seem the same as what she did with the other shows. I mean, with the other cases she's had.
I think that the difference is, I think at first Olivia was a little bit weary. And I called this back in, I think it may have been right after 502, when people were like, oh, how is this going to be different from 301 when her clients were leaving her left and right and da-da-da. I said, no, here's the difference. She's come out about this relationship, and therefore there are going to be people that find OPA attractive because Olivia has the president's ear. She's the president's girlfriend. And what happened? This girl went straight to her because she's the president's girlfriend. And at first, Olivia thought, oh, wait, you only want to approach me because of that? But the reason was she needed the president to know, because the president just awarded this man with the Medal of Honor. And he would want to know that, hey, you gave this honor to a rapist. And of course, that was Olivia's idea. That was sanctioned by Olivia to give that man the Medal of Honor. So that's also, she feels that that's something on her. And she doesn't want to have done such a thing if it is true that this man has done these horrible things, not only to this girl, but to, lots of other women. And in her experience with the rape cases that she's done, all of the cases of rape that she's dealt with on this show, every single one of those men has done it to more than one woman. From 103 with that kid, when he did it to the friend of the girl who eventually killed herself, and how her roommate tried to get him prosecuted for it, to the Ennis Martin case, to obviously this. And I'm sure BJ raped other women too, other than Melly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Diara Kane says she's so scared of the B613 storyline coming back. It gave her chills. That's how fearful she is of that storyline. She got her prayer circle pulled together so she can, And Brown Shea says, yes, Katrina, Olivia equals power, and NYC is gal says, she says, yes, that's just all she says. She said, that's deep and wow. Travel Food Fun says, yes, I love the simple complexity of the parallels from the actions to the lines. It's amazing. And you know what, y'all, and I have to say, because our podcast is different from the other podcasts, and I honestly don't listen to all of them, but I have listened to them on occasion throughout the time we've been doing this show, because we've been doing this show for 2 years. I said 4 years on one of the episodes, but I meant 2. We've been doing this show for 2 years, and it's been a while. Some podcasts have come and go, and we've been here for a minute, but we do break down these episodes, ideas that come behind the show a little bit differently than the other shows. And not to say that their shows are bad, but when you're looking at a hobby fan, kind of like a hobby fan, somebody that watches the show. No, but I'm talking about like the hobby fan. So when we are getting upset with people that aren't thinking that deeply, they're just thinking on the surface. They're not seeing all of the different layers of the show. They're just seeing, I watched the show, Olivia's stupid, she make me sick, I'm out. That's what they're thinking. They don't take time to analyze why. And I love that our show does that. And it does it because I love characters. So, and then y'all also come to the show with that perspective as well.
We're readers.
Exactly.
We're reading this show. We're not just watching this show.
We're reading.
I was telling my students that today. I did a lecture. I did 3 of them. It was the same lecture this week. 3 lectures and 4 seminars. Jesus, this week about appointment TV, fans, and texts. And I explained to them that TV shows are texts in the way that films are, in the way that books are. You know, you can watch them or you can read them. And we're going to talk about reading these things and how they become embedded in our psyche and, you know, sort of affect our lives. And that's the perspective that we're kind of coming from on this show. I'm not interested in really talking about most of the shows that I watch, though I do enjoy them and I find them entertaining. But if I don't find the characterizations compelling and the world that they're in compelling enough, then, I mean, there's really nothing for me to talk about. And so Scandal for me is a novel, and I have to get to the end. And I'm always thinking about previous chapters, and new resonance occurs to me. This text, particularly because it is a series that is being unveiled, and with each season and each year, it is dynamic. So the back catalog is relevant. And sometimes there are some inconsistencies, but there's sometimes when the brilliance of the connections that they're able to make between like several seasons to a present moment boggles my mind. It's amazing.
And you're seeing from a reader, I'm looking at it more as a writer. So I'm coming from it from the perspective of how do I make my books, because I love fiction. So how do I make my books have that kind of layer and seasoning and oh, this is the side dish, this is the main dish, oh, you need to make sure that this goes with it, and the wine has to go with the whole plate, like that whole thing, the whole idea of how the complexities are. So like Sweet Treats Forever, you said that you got so mad at that peeps were saying what people were saying about Olivia. Hello Power Hungry for Reals, now saying you got it wrong. I feel you on that, because I got mad at what's his name, Shane, last week, and we had that big thing in the After Dark. But the reality is, when you think in a different way than most people, and then you've been doing all these, you know, you've been doing these shows, and we are literally looking for that while we're watching the show. Most people aren't even looking for that when they're watching the show. They're just looking at the surface and what they would have done and what they think the character should do, who they think is fine. They might like a chicken breast like Jake, or they might like Fitz with his eyebrows on fleek. It's just it's just your preference. So when we're watching the show, we're looking at it from a different level. And the reason I say that the people that listen to our show and that watch this show are the best is because y'all have a different perspective than most of the other fans that are watching those other review shows. So you have a different perspective because you've been listening to us and probably we're thinking some of the same things, and you found a home with us where we're all thinking the same concepts together. It's like, did you think about the thing that was on the shade because it turned this way? Then you know what that meant. Like, we're thinking about that shit. We're looking at clothes. Like when I started talking to Katrina,
body language,
yes,
walking,
and
like
she was
all
saying,
of that stuff.
You were saying, yeah, well, she wears the white. She's in this model, and I was like, who is this? And that was in the rewind series that I did. That was when we first started the show, and I was like, I need to have these people back on because I never saw any of that. Half the time I was watching Scandal in headphones, like listening to it while I'm working, rather than watching it.
I love doing that.
Yeah, and so when you started talking about that and y'all started coming to the table with these ideas of perspective, I was like, I'm looking at the surface. I'm not even underneath the level. Yeah, I'm topsoiling it. I need to be underground. I need to dig a hole. So yeah. So the next question I have is about Jake being tasked with finding Papa Pope after he escaped from minimum security prison. Because I swear to goodness, that thing was horrible. Who do you think out of Jake? Because that look, if your mom and them can walk in and bring you cookies and give you a hug, you ain't in maximum security prison. I don't even understand why they're making this such a big deal that he escaped from a prison where he literally could have went in the bathroom, changed his clothes, and walked out the door. They would have known nothing because that's how lax it looked. There were no people standing up with rifles trained on him. If you knew the level of killer you had in your midst, the level of security.
Well, he wasn't in prison for that, remember?
I know, but I'm just saying, if you knew the level of killer you had in your midst, the security should have matched it. So who do you think is going to end up with a bullet? I kind of think that, like Elise, Jake will end up with a bullet in his back and his chicken meat chest will be covered in some, spaghetti sauce. But if not, Papa Pope will die. Who do you think out of the two does the show need more?
You know what? You know how much I can't stand on, but I will take his ass over Jake any day. But it would be glorious to me, and not just because I would do a praise dance for my rightness, if both of them would go out in a blaze of glory, because they are, as I kept saying, they are a narrative pair, right? They entered this narrative together, and their relevance has always remained to each other as suppressive kind of personalities for Olivia, always. Like, they have never enabled any real growth in her except pushing her in directions she feared or directions she wasn't ready to kind of go. I think that her father has actually been more helpful to her sense of identity and owning her power than Jake has. So Jake can really go for me. He really can.
So Sweet Trees Forever asked, did y'all notice how Jake tried to throw Liv under the bus in the Oval, asking Fitz, why do you think he escaped? Why now? Be gone.
Oh, yeah.
She says, be gone, loser.
Definitely. He's such a bitch-ass bitch in that scene. I don't know if people noticed, but they decided to change the sequence of the scene where Jake is in her apartment, because that actually happens after the scene where Jake comes into the Oval, but they switched it around because Olivia was wearing that same jacket, which was very season 2, episode 203-esque, and I loved it. The belted camel-colored one, in the scene when she was talking to Marcus and they were looking at the OPA wall, she had that jacket on. That was the jacket she was wearing when she went home and Jake was in her apartment. So it happened that night while she was working on the case, but they switched it and moved that scene up to earlier in the episode. I guess they wanted it to happen before she saw him in the Oval, which was interesting.
So yes, KP, every nuance is important. One of the listeners said that. I totally think that okay, let me go down because I want to get the comments that are relevant to what we were just talking about. So that's not relevant. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to what you're saying so we can go.
Yeah, I want to get to Susan and David and Liz and all of that.
Oh yeah, because that's the one of the questions. They're saying Sweet Lady says that they both should go. But see, this is the thing that we all need to realize too. There has to be a negative to combat the positive and the happiness.
There has to be a dark,
because it wouldn't be a good show if there wasn't there. So it has to have that in order to. So which one would you choose if you had to choose Jake, or if you had to choose Rowan? Which would be the force that you would be fine with having on the show? Because Jake already comes with the B613 narrative, and so does Papa Pope. But which one would you prefer? Because like Jake is Fitz is under the illusion that Jake is some kind of loyalist or some kind of diehard for him. And I just think that Jake is staying close so he can still see if he has access to Sugar Thighs. And that's all he cares about, especially now that his wife that he loved again, offed again, didn't love again, live again, don't love her, especially since that's over. I was excited for that. Now it's gone. Like, I was like, yes, you got some Sugar Thighs that loves your chicken chest. Let's just go on with that. Then she's dead. I'm like, God damn it.
Girl, you knew she was going to die. You knew her ass was going
to die. So Trini Melly asked, do we know why Fitz still has on his ring? Is it the repentant optics? Oh, that's a good question.
I think that's a really good question. I think that's a small part of it, but I also think that they haven't finalized the divorce. Like, the papers have been signed, but they haven't decided how to announce it and when to announce it. I don't think doing so right on the heels of the Congress investigation being done and Fitz trying to win the public back would have necessarily been appropriate. That wasn't the right time if it has, all gone through the courts and everything. So that's why I think he still has it on. I mean, we see that he has it on in the next episode, but I don't know if at some point in the episode it is announced and he takes it off. But I think it's because they haven't announced it to the public yet why he still has the ring on.
So we're about to go into the After Dark. I'm going to read these comments here really quickly because they are relevant and they are good. The After Dark link is dramaqueenbooks.com/support if you want to join the After Dark. And you'll probably not get in tonight because I'm doing the show right here, right now, and I'll be doing the next show. So you'll get in before the next week, but you will see all of the episodes we've done in the After Dark, as long as you keep adherence with the rules. But so that's the link. And then we want to talk about Susan for a couple of seconds, but I know we're going into the After Dark. So if you are a part of the After Dark community, you will be meeting us over there shortly. I'm going to read some of these comments really quickly. I'm not going to get to all of them. I'm sorry, y'all, but I will try to read them in the After Dark. Susan has a crush. Susan has a crush. La 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 is what Sweet Treats Forever says. Cute. She does, and he just had sex with somebody else. Quinn saying she hated the new normal made no sense since they have always been up in the White House business is what Trini Melly says. Absolutely. Isaac Y agrees with hobby fans. Yes, girl. Yes, hobby fans. Don't let them get y'all's pressure up. I need y'all to stay alive. Let the hobby fans do their hobby thing and be like, you just a hobby fan, girl. I'm
right.
Not,
just leave them alone. You're on a different level.
I'm on a different level. Yeah. So NYC Gal says, yeah, you see the nuances in great perspective. Yes, we do. And I love that. Y'all are the best Scandal podcast, hands down. Yep. I said it. Thank you, Sweet Treats Forever.
Thank you.
We should be able to give them high fives. Trini Melly
I know. I'm giving high fives.
She said, Scandal is too layered. Hand claps to Sweet Treats Forever. See, yeah, we should be able to give. That's what Cassandra said. Reading period is what Isaac Y said. I thought I would choke when someone asked it what the Helen of Troy reference meant. Glad I had a liberal arts education and understand literary criticism. Brown Shay says, I'm here for it, y'all. Hands down, the depth, the layers, the best podcast, best host. Thank you. We appreciate that. And then Isaac Y says, yeah, every layer, every nuance, every set is important. Y'all know I be stumbling over my words because I be trying to do this quickly. So they're greeting each other. We're going to skip past that. 22 messages. Look, I done told y'all about putting all the messages at the end of the show. Y'all y'all be sleeping like, we gonna put another message in here. She gonna read this. And Tula Rosebud said Olivia was wearing black and gray last night for a reason. Absolutely, Tula. You picked up on that. That's great. And Trini Melly says, oh no, when has Jake ever delivered any task Fitz has asked of him? Hey, I'm just saying, he just keep hiring Jake, and Jake be doing the fuckboy stuff. Nobody got time for that. Trini Melly
he has no one else to do to do that behind the scenes, dark shit for him. That's the only loser that he's saddled with.
Trini Melly says Olivia needs to be the one to take Rowan out. I don't think so, because that would be traumatizing. Even though she did have the fake death with him last season, I think that would be really hard for her to come back from if she did murder her father. I just think so. I don't see that not being the case. Even though,
I don't think she needs to literally murder him, but she needs to handle him in her life.
NYC Gal says neither of them. She don't want either of them here. Trini Melly says, I think it's going to be a choice between Rowan and Fitz for her. Okay, that might. You never know. It might.
But we know who she's gonna choose.
She's look, Fitz laying it down. He's throwing them brows on her.
Olivia put her entire fucking life on the line. Do people really think she's about to go back on there? Do people not realize what she's just been through?
I'm just saying, Fitz is putting them brows down and Olivia is on it. NYC Gal says they don't need Jake or Eli. Lucinda Day says, can we also touch on the sadness that was Susan Ross waiting with her wine coolers? It was so sad.
The wine coolers! Oh my God.
It was sad. I felt bad for her. And Travel Food Fund says, hey,
I got taken out the game.
She asked, where did Russell go? He didn't die, nor did Charlie. They're always in the back scenes.
You don't know that he didn't die.
Well,
we don't know.
That's true.
We didn't see him die. We don't know.
And Cassandra says, Jake stay throwing shade. She's absolutely right. He might as well get Langston's title to be the shade tree. And what? All right, so we are going into the after dark. We are leaving. So we love y'all. We are glad y'all are here. We appreciate y'all for being here. We will be here back next week at 6 p.m. Eastern